Welcome to MiWeek, and thanks so much for joining us. I'm Christy McDonald. We are on the road this week in Detroit at the Motor City Casino, the site of the Detroit Regional Chamber's Detroit Policy Conference. Tonight, the conversation focuses on the city, tackling the problems, talking out solutions, and getting definitive plans to take this city into the future. The mayor gave his State of the City address last night. We're going to take a look at what he had to say. Plus, Detroit's plan of adjustment filed in bankruptcy court. How close are we to the grand bargain? And the judge's thought that Detroit emerges from Chapter 9 in September. Also tonight, a candid conversation with Thomas Segru on where the city is headed. And Congressman John Dingell's legacy and how his wife, Debbie Dingell, wants to continue the dynasty. But we are going to start first with the State of the City and quick reaction to Mayor Mike Duggan's speech last night. Let's get to it with Nolan Finley, the editorial page editor of the Detroit News, and Stephen Henderson, editorial page editor of the Detroit Free Press. Gentlemen, it's good to see you, and we are on the road tonight. It is pretty busy here at the Detroit Policy Conference.
And Steve won $200 at roulette.
All right, so you're pretty lucky today, all right?
That's right.
All right, so
let's
jump right in. It's a good day for Mayor Mike Duggan.
It is.
Because last night he put on a heck of a State of the City address with just a yellow legal pad in front of him that he was frantically flipping through. But he had passion, and he has quite an ambitious agenda, Nolan.
He did what he needed to do last night. He needed to project progress, optimism, hope. There's a lot of people sitting on the bubble in Detroit. Do we stay? Do we go? Do we give this guy a chance? And I think he projected the energy, the hope that would convince people maybe to give him some time to see how this thing's going to work out. That's his mission.
That's his mission, but he's also got a massive checklist, Stephen. What did you like that you heard last night?
Well, I think I like the ambition, right? This is the raw ambition. This is a guy who's not just talking about city services and how they're going to be better. Now he wants to attack infant mortality. Huge problem in Detroit that we almost never talk about. I don't know that I've ever heard a mayor
I was very surprised to hear him bring that up.
And it seems maybe to some people like it might be sort of far afield, but it's not in this city. That's a huge, huge issue.
Karen Beffard of our staff did a project
That's right,
a couple of weeks ago. The deadliest city in America for children.
For children, sure. He's talking about starting an insurance company to try to deal with the high rates that Detroiters pay. Now, do I think he can do that? Do I think even the capital to get something like that started is so far beyond comprehension in Detroit, but it shows he's thinking big. He is not just saying, I'm just going to manage the decline that the city is experiencing. I'm going to grow it.
Steve, there's a danger in throwing
too
pie
much
in the sky
sure.
ideas out there, because you raise expectations to the point. People are out there thinking, oh wow, my insurance rates are going to come down. They cannot run an insurance.
But it seems that Mike Duggan, though, wants to be held accountable. I mean, in that speech last night, I know that we're going to be able to go to him in 8 months from now and say, where is this, this, and this? And he's going to have to give you an answer.
Right. Yeah, there's no question that that's the way he operates. I mean, if you talk to people in City Hall who've been there for a while, they will talk about the difference with this mayor as a manager, that if he asks you 1 week in a meeting to do something or to look into something, he expects an answer the next week, and he comes back and he asks for it. They're not used to that down there. I mean, before people would say, let's get this done, let's look into this, and it would go weeks or months without a follow-up. This guy is on it all the time and expecting that people are going to deliver, which is the way that city government is supposed to function.
A couple of perception things, Nolan. The city council was sitting alongside of him when he was talking, and he was also talking, he wasn't sitting there saying, I'm going to wait until the emergency manager leaves before I can do things because I really can't do anything. He talked about his relationship with him, honestly, and really said, we're going to move forward. We're not going to wait until he's gone.
He's working very hard to project a unified City Hall. I mean, he mentioned every single one of them by name. One of the things I found a little unsettling last night, he talked about this new bureaucracy he's going to create in the neighborhoods. Well, we have a new city charter here that elects city council members by district. Their job is to bring the concerns of the district to City Hall. Now the mayor's going to have a network of his people out in the neighborhoods and it feels to me like cogs in Mike Duggan's political machine, and I think we should really take a look at it.
So do those district managers take away the job of the council members in those districts?
I think actually you need that, because one of the things that the charter didn't do was give these council members more power to actually change things. They can't hire or fire City Hall staffers. They can't get lights turned on a block if they're off. I think this is an effort on the mayor's part to connect the administration with those individual council members to say, look, this is the person you go to set priorities for your area, and to bring back to me the marching orders for what the administration needs to do to support that.
Looks like classic machine politics to me. I don't know that you need that. If he has a relationship he says he has with council, they can be his liaisons to the neighborhood.
All right, well, I want to see how it's going to work out in the next couple of weeks. Now to that plan of adjustment filed in bankruptcy court. Creditors don't like it, retirees hate it. What will the final deal look like? The plan outlines how Detroit will deal with its $18 billion debt. A big focus, the cut for retirees. City workers in the general pension system would be cut 34%. Police and fire retirees, close to 10%. The plan also eliminates cost of living adjustments for pensions going forward. A key part to this plan, though, is the so-called grand bargain. Over $800 million to be raised by foundations, the Detroit Institute of Art, and the state to save the art collection and offset the cut to pensions. If retirees agree to this deal, the cut will be 26% to their pension. Creditors will see a bigger hit, 20 cents on the dollar of what they're owed. A big part of this plan is also shaping what Detroit will be like after bankruptcy. The plan called for spending $1.5 billion over 10 years on much-needed upgrades, $148 million for technology, $82 million for the city's fire department and EMS, and a big chunk, $520 million for blight removal. This plan does not mean everything is settled. The city must still negotiate with the creditors and retirees, who so far are not happy.
We really do not have time for a lot of acrimony and litigation.
Bankruptcy Judge Stephen Rhodes also issued a statement, quote, "The court again strongly encourages all parties to negotiate with a full intensity and vigor with a view toward resolving their disputes." So the negotiations continue. For the creditors, is this the best plan that they're going to get, the best offer that they're going to get?
You know, I believe it is, and I believe it's the plan they're going to have to take. You have Judge Rhodes sending out some very clear messages that, look, there's not much out there. You need to take this and move on. There's no more money anywhere. And you've got the creditors, the banks, and others still looking at that art. They're not going to get that art. The pensioners still think they may win a legal fight to get the state to cover their pensions. This, compared to what they thought they were going to have to take when this bankruptcy first started, they are getting off fairly, I won't say easy, but a whole lot easier than it could have been. They need to take this deal.
But if you're a retiree, why would you take this deal when you could potentially get a ruling from the court?
I think the court has opened the door for that, right? The Sixth Circuit in Cincinnati said, listen, we want to hear this argument. We want to see this played out in court. They didn't just grant a summary dismissal of that case. So now the city and the state are gambling a little bit by pushing this. If they can't get a deal out of the pensioners to accept less, it's entirely possible that a court could say, you know what? The state constitution doesn't have sway in federal court, but it does mean something, and you have to make good on that obligation.
But then everything else, if that happens, then
everything
unravels. The money to save the DIA art, that's gone.
Everything, that's right.
The money raised in the private sector, that's gone. It's all conditional on everybody saying, yeah, we'll take this. If the Sixth Circuit says, you got a case, and it comes back to be argued in court,
that could be one of the worst things that happens.
It's done.
And I guess we keep on looking at a timeline, though, and thinking that possibly the city could emerge from bankruptcy October 1. Yeah. What does that do to the timeline? When could we hear from the appeals court?
Well, I think that the order of sort of process here is now in the pensioners' hands, that you've got to get them. That's the one constituency in all of this we've heard nothing from in terms of any sort of concession or willingness to negotiate. Their position from day one has been, you pay us our money, that's what the Constitution says. And I support that in theory, but I think in any negotiation, you've got to sit down at the table and talk about what else might be acceptable to you. That's where we are now. You're not going to get the state legislature to take up this $350 million that the governor has promised until you get pensioners in, and the foundations are not going to really commit to this until they get an assurance from those foundations.
But if we get some of the banks saying, look, we got insurance for this loss, let's just let it go. If he starts getting some settlements from the banks, the judge can do a cram down,
right?
And it can force everybody else to take the deal.
So if everybody else is all in, and that maybe puts just then heat on the
doesn't have to be
pensioners to
everybody.
It doesn't
say,
have to be, and that's the thing. It doesn't have to be everybody. It just has to be a handful of them. The other constituency that's sort of left out in the cold in this plan is the holders of these unlimited tax general obligation bonds, who under the bankruptcy rules should be getting 100% of the principal of what they're owed. Kevin Orr is offering them 20%, completely unprecedented. If that holds, that really does change the game for unlimited tax bonds, which every city uses to build things and develop properties and things. We don't know where that's going to land.
It could make it a lot harder for other communities, particularly other communities in Michigan, to bond out and get money. And that's what some of the lawmakers are worried about. They're like, if we approve this deal, Wall Street's warning us, your community may have a harder time buying money, not just in Detroit, but in Saginaw and
Grand
other
Rapids,
places.
right.
You know, you may not be able to go to the bond markets.
so I mean, the grand bargain may not even still be in play then, if you look at it that way.
You know, I think all of this stuff is so fascinating because you have so many pieces that have to fall into place at the right time with everybody agreeing. Jerry Rosen, the federal judge who's been managing these mediations, really has got to feel like a juggler at this point, trying to keep all these balls in the air at the same time and hope they all settle.
The farther we get away from the announcement of this plan or the filing of this plan, is there any correlation to the farther you get away and you don't have a deal that the window shrinks for a deal?
Now, this is still a fairly rapid pace for bankruptcies. Bankruptcies don't move this quickly. What you have here is sort of a Jenga bankruptcy. They keep trying up, pulling out sticks and hoping everything doesn't collapse. And the risk is, if enough of this gets pulled away from the proposal, it won't be a proposal anymore.
Well, so